The Raptors are back to winning a close one against the Blazers, a Scottie Barnes masterclass, the quick yak connection, a good Gradey game. Let's go to the film room.
The only thing that's originally filmed is that and I've studied older films and tried to figure out how I got that impression. I was getting meetings right in the cutting room.
The unique thing about film is an art form
exactly.
is the editing.
It was a masterclass of a performance from one Scottie Barnes, who put up 28 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. And I have loved Scottie Barnes' offensive process this season, just really leaning into what he's good at and buying into the role that he's playing this season for the Raptors. Working as a screener more often. This time he slips the screen, a good pass by Emmanuel quickly, and Scottie able to finish this and one. Being way more decisive as a driver. So here, Chris Murray is pressuring him. And what Scottie is going to do with this pressure, because you don't need to pressure Scottie Barnes this much, Scottie is going to attack this defender with the amount of space, pressure that he's seeing. So tween dribble, gets inside, a nice shoulder bump, and then a good job finishing over Donovan Clingan. Really elite, decisive stuff as a driver. I love this play because it shows you how big Emmanuel quickly is as a ghost screener. So here, just touches the defender and Chris Murray, and that creates a split-second opportunity for Scottie to get the defender off his spot, attack this closeout, and then dunk all over Donovan Clingan. And when the drive is not available to him, he's worked to develop this mid-range counter. So they wall off this drive. Clingan is there. You know, of course, Scottie can make interior passes, and Scottie can make a ton of reads here. That's why there's so much attention. But all he does, mid-range, bang. Another mid-range counter here. He gets the switch onto Robert Williams, attacks his foot, doesn't get the space that he wants to finish inside. So instead, counters, turn around, fade away, bang. And of course, the cherry on top is the fact that he is shooting 38% on catch and shoot threes this season on 4 attempts a game. He has been awesome at knocking down these shots, so he's become the full package offensively. Of course, he can attack closeouts, he can be a driver, he can work in transition, but also knocking down these threes really makes him dynamic as an off-ball player. But so does the passing. So here, you know, as I've mentioned how decisive he is as a driver, he attacks this closeout and sees 3 bodies immediately. There are 1, 2, 3 defenders around him, and so he can make a ton of plays here. He can either wait for Brandon Ingram to pop out to the three-point line to pass it to him. He can pass it to Emmanuel quickly here, although it's a pretty risky pass with Jeremy Grant here. He can work to try and wrap this pass around to Jamal Shed in the corner, or he can make a nice interior pass to Jakob Poeltl, and that's likely the easiest feed to make here. But he does such a great job of manipulating the help to create that opening for Jakob. And so Jakob gets this opening and finishes easily. Another really nice play here from the Raptors. So Jakob sets a flare screen for Emmanuel quickly. And the natural progression is for Jakob to come set a pick and roll for Scottie Barnes, but instead he actually just immediately slips to the basket here. And so that creates an opportunity for Jakob to attack this closeout, and then a beautiful left-handed pass through 2 defenders on the go. This is a pass not that many players in the NBA can make, and he does it with ease, finding Jakob for the finish. Scottie also fuels the Raptors in transition, and so here he has multiple decisions he can make. One, he can either be patient and try to attack this himself, or he can find the hit-ahead pass for Colin Murray-Boyles, who's currently being fronted by Shaedon Sharpe. This is a pass that he can regularly make, or he can wait for Mamu to make this weak side cut and find Mamu cutting to the basket. So that's options for Scottie, and that's exactly what he does, finding Mamu for the finish. Scottie does a great job of manipulating with his eyes too, and so as you see here, CMB is going to slip this pick and roll, right? But now this creates an opportunity for Scottie to make multiple plays. One, he can, hit CMB as the roller, or he can hit Gradey Dick here in the corner. He's going to force Chris Murray as the low man to make a decision here. Either he's going to step up, or he's going to have to hit and guard Gradey in the corner. Multiple decisions, and that's why Scottie is such a dangerous playmaker. So with this nice little fake, he makes Chris Murray hesitate just a second and step up as the low man. And so that creates a sporadic closeout for Gradey Dick to attack. Gradey able to attack this closeout, settled into a mid-range jump shot. And of course, so much of Scottie's utility comes on the defensive end. So fourth quarter in the clutch, Jamal Shed does a great job of making Denny Avdia pick up his dribble. And then Scottie with the help side block. Incredible defensive play there. Scottie one-on-one with Denny Avdia. He does a great job of stonewalling him. Denny tries to push off, but a great recovery and block there by Scottie Barnes. So a truly special performance from Scottie Barnes tonight as we welcome you inside the film room. Folks, as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate you guys, as always, for helping out Raptors Republic. I was at the game tonight for the Athletic NBA Daily. We also talked about this game on the Daily, so if you wanted to go check that out, you can go ahead. This was an unreal game for Scottie Barnes. He's putting it all together. And truthfully, it's been a string of very, very impressive performances from him. He was unreal in their Hornets loss. He was very good in the Knicks game. He has consistently put together all-star and all-NBA level performances this season. They go as far as he goes. I understand Brandon Ingram has been a very important piece for the Raptors, and he continues to be. They need his offense. And we'll talk about some of the clutch issues that they had towards the end. But the defensive ceiling of this team, the playmaking pop, the transition stuff, the overall secondary scoring, all of that, the ceiling, truthfully, the ceiling of this Raptors team, all of that is on Scottie Barnes. And he has delivered. Folks, he has delivered in such a major way. He has been the beating heart for this Raptors team, both off the floor as like a leader and organizational presence, but also on the floor as a guy who is just doing a little bit of everything. Rebounding the ball, pushing it in transition, fueling the Raptors offense, making plays in the half court, really being like a cerebral passer, especially in the interior with a guy like Jakob Poeltl. In terms of his offensive bag, it's become much more refined. He is more decisive, attacking closeouts, driving the basketball, and finishing. Drawing free throws. He was 5 of 7 from the free throw line tonight. He also does a great job of countering that with his mid-range bag. And if all else fails, he can also knock down, catch, and shoot threes. And so Scottie has put it all together, man. Literally a pitch-perfect type of game from him. And they won this because of him. He was absurd in all ways. And it's really good to see him put it together after, a season where many people were down on him. And like we talked about this again on the NBA Daily, if you want to go check it out, but like development isn't necessarily linear. And this was a guy who really had to like experiment and figure out what kind of player he wanted to be. And I honestly think he has figured out what kind of player he wants to be and how he can be the most effective version of himself on the floor. It's a joy to see. It really is a joy to see this guy who, the keys were handed to him. The keys of the franchise were handed to him at such a young age. For him to really deliver, that's like meeting the moment in a major, major way. Kudos to Scottie for that. Folks, this game was kind of weird. So Portland got out to a lead in this one. They were knocking down tons of threes. The three-point shooting, it was another team that started out hot. The Knicks did the same on Sunday. The Blazers did much of the same too. Toumani Camara was 4 of 5 from 3 to start this game. But things very quickly changed when the bench came in. And so Jamal Shed had, I believe he finished with 5 steals tonight. Yeah, he finished with 5 steals. He closed out the game as well. Jamal Shed was awesome on defense. He was churning the offense as well with 5 assists. Mamu had a couple of really nice plays. I thought CMB and Gradey Dick were excellent. We'll talk about Gradey in a second. And the bench really helped fuel their comeback. And it was a very, very quick comeback too. It was 32-23 at one point, about 2 or 3 minutes left in the first quarter. By 3 minutes left, 3 minutes into the second quarter, the Raptors were up 10. That's how quickly this game swung. And for the most part, from the second and third quarter, the Raptors carried a pretty big lead. I believe they got it out to almost 18 or 19 points heading into the fourth quarter, but the Blazers came storming back. And this is what the Blazers do. The Blazers play close games. The Blazers fight till the very end. They do not give up on games. I've watched this team a lot because they play West Coast basketball, and truthfully, because of the Raptors schedule, I can watch more West Coast teams than East Coast teams. And so I watch the Blazers a lot, and they do not give up on games. They are always involved in games. They always try to make a late comeback. That's just who the Blazers are. They did the exact same thing tonight against the Raptors. The Raptors' clutch offense did stagnate once again. And, Brandon Ingram tonight was 21 points, 7 of 17 from the field. I didn't think he had the greatest game, though, truthfully. I thought a lot of his stuff was working in slow motion, not any of that decisiveness there as a playmaker. And I think part of that was the Raptors were taking so long to get him involved in actions. And I've talked about this with the Hornets game. I talked about this with the Knicks game. Just too much time wasted on trying to get him into his area of the floor. They need to be quicker on that. And if they don't, get to that within the first 5 to 6 seconds of the shot clock, they got to move on and find something else. It's hard to have that be your first option. It's great that BI as a whole is your clutch number one option. I agree with that. But that one specific play will be and has been countered. Teams are now fronting BI. And so that entry pass is a little bit harder to make. So the Raptors have to work through the wrinkles of their clutch offense to add some more dynamism. And I think that's a work in progress. That's something that they'll develop. And honestly, they will have opportunities to develop it over the next couple weeks against some decent competition. The guy who played awesome tonight, outside of Scottie Barnes, was Emmanuel Quickley. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 9 of 11 from the field. It was one of his most efficient games as a Raptor. He also went 5 of 6 from 3. He was excellent in this game. He was awesome. And I think part of why he was so good, above the shooting, like he knocked down a bunch of shots in transition. He had this really nice catch and shoot 3. There were a lot of easy opportunities for IQ in this game. But there were also easy opportunities in the middle of the floor, in the paint area. Why? Because of Jakob Poeltl. So let's talk about the Yak IQ connection for a second here. All right, so off ball, Emmanuel Quickley is going to get a wide open shot here off of the catch because of Jakob Poeltl. They are running an elevator door screen, so it's 2 screeners here, and for Quickley to pop out and get the open shot. A beautiful job by Jakob to recognize that Toumani is going to fight over this screen, and he just lays him out on a flare screen, creates a wide open opportunity for Quick for the shot. Now, this is a very, very high pick and roll, and because Donovan Clingan is camped out in the paint, you can even see Denny Avdi here being like, hey, what is the defensive coverage we're doing? Because Jakob is going to set this screen so high, it creates such an easy opportunity for IQ to make some sort of play. IQ is also one of the best pull-up shooters in the league, and so all he has to do is step up into this space that Yak creates for him and knock down this 3. But Yak was really great at creating floaters for him too. So IQ rejects this dribble handoff, goes back door, and then is able to create the opportunity with this floater. A little bit later on, they work in pick and rolls, and a great job by Jakob of leveling Toumani Camara and forcing him to kind of trail this play. And also, again, with Clingan camped out in the paint here, this creates a lot of opportunity for Emmanuel Quickley to settle into this floater, and that's exactly what he does, gets into his floater bag. Now, this is a step-up screen. So step-up screen usually means that the screener has to have their back towards the baseline, right? Because it creates an opportunity where the defender has to step up in order to defend this. Now, truthfully, this isn't like a perfect step-up screen, but it's a good enough screen when you're Jakob Poeltl. So Yak sets this, and a good job. Again, tons of space. Shaedon Sharpe has to step up here and guard Emmanuel Quickley because of the pull-up threat. This time, Quick just attacks, calls the foul, and won. That is exactly why Quick and Yak work so well together. And that's why Quick has some of his most efficient offensive nights because of Jakob Poeltl. He is so important to Quick. He's so important to Brandon Ingram. We just looked at some plays that Scottie Barnes made to Jakob Poeltl in the interior. As much as Yak is important to the team's overall rebounding, he had 7 rebounds tonight. As much as he's important to their backline defense, he is also vital to their offense. He just churns so much out for them offensively because of how good of a screener he is, how good he is in that short mid-range area, those little push shots that he has, finishing in and around the basket. He's a big target, and the Raptors use him as a big target. And I think that's very, very important for the Raptors' offense moving forward. Hopefully, one day he can start playing back-to-backs again. But as things currently stand, that is why Jakob Poeltl is so important to this team, and especially so important to Emmanuel Quickley. Let's talk about Gradey Dick, folks, because there's obviously Gradey was 1 of 3 from 3 tonight. Before tonight, that was his second 3 that he made in 5 games. And I believe Samson tweeted this, but at one point he was 8 of 36 for his last 3-point attempts. He hasn't shot the ball well. He really hasn't. And this is a guy who was scouted to be an elite shooter. If there was one thing Gradey Dick would become in the NBA, was to be an elite shooter. It hasn't really panned out yet for him. He's had stretches where he's knocked down 40% of his looks. The tail end of his rookie year, the start of his second year. But he has not shot the ball well this season. He needs to start shooting the ball well this season. Darko Rajakovic, post-game, when asked by Josh Lewenberg, said, yeah, Gradey is a scorer. Gradey needs to see the ball go through the hoop. And that's a big part of what we want to do. And it's a big part of how we want to set up Gradey to succeed in this league. At the same time, he needs to be able to do a little bit of everything. And guys, I don't want to be sounding like this Gradey stand, but I really do believe that he is doing a little bit of everything. He's defending his tail off. He's rebounding the ball. He's working to, be a part of their transition offense, leaking out in transition. He's a very important part of this Raptors team in terms of how he can boost them offensively. He was a plus 14 tonight, which was the second best on the team next to Scottie Barnes, who was plus 18. His impact is palpable. You can see his impact on the floor, and I want to break down some plays just to break it down for you guys, if you don't mind. Now, the first play I want to talk about with Gradey Dick doesn't even involve Gradey Dick scoring the ball. In transition, Mamu is attacking with full head of steam, and now Caleb Love here in the corner has to make a decision. Either he's going to stop this ball, pinch in here, and stop Mamu, or he's going to have to help off with a strong side and help off of Gradey Dick. This is how respected of a shooter Gradey Dick is, even though the percentages say that he is not having a good shooting season. This time, Caleb Love decides that he wants to stay on Gradey Dick, and it creates a wide open lane for Mamu. That is Grady's gravity creating that opportunity, even despite the fact that he isn't hitting his shots like that. This is a really good defensive play by Gradey Dick, who is being asked to be more aggressive now on the defensive end, tries to steal this ball from Shaedon Sharpe, and now the defense has to make a decision, right? This is what a peel switch is. Colin Murray-Boyles is going to have to step up and switch on to Shaedon Sharpe, who's trying to attack downhill. The goal for Gradey is to switch onto Jeremy Grant, peel switch this action. And so that is a ton of space that Gradey has to cover in a very quick amount of time. A good job by Scottie and CMB to stunt this drive, giving Gradey just the right amount of time to step up, steal this pass. Raptors are out in transition. I have liked how much Gradey is trying to leak out in transition. So as soon as Jamal Shead gets his hand on the ball, Gradey is gearing up to attack in transition and get easy opportunities. The Raptors are imploring him to do so. Good hit-ahead pass by Jamal Shead, and an easy opportunity for Gradey. Still being respected as a shooter. So here in transition, Toumani Camara still flies out to Gradey Dick. He does a great job of attacking the closeout, settling into a mid-range jumper. And of course, after all those opportunities, a couple of mid-range shots went in. He is now feeling it. He's in rhythm. His shots have gone in. He is now able to knock down a 3-point shot. And so it was a good game for Gradey Dick, a good game for Emmanuel Quickley, a good game for Scottie Barnes, and a good game for the Raptors. They fought through a couple of interesting stretches there, but they got the W. They got back in the win column. And I thought this was important for them to do, especially after 2 games where you're like, oh, man, they kind of don't look good right now. They're missing RJ Barrett, etc. They took care of business tonight, even despite a couple of moments where they had some slippage and the offense didn't look the greatest, etc. They took care of business. The Lakers game on Thursday should be very interesting. I think the Lakers are playing some really good basketball. Luka, Austin Reeves, LeBron, they're obviously very, very talented players, and they've got a good offensive dynamic between those three. Very curious to see how the Raptors guard it. And honestly, this is a very interesting stretch for them in general. Folks, as always, like, comment, subscribe, do those things you guys usually do. We appreciate you guys for tapping into Raptors Republic. We'll be back for the Lakers game on Thursday. Peace out.